Good morning, everyone. I am correspondent Matt Finn coming at you from Minneapolis. Pretty cold day here, but this city has certainly seen much more frigid days. So much going on here in the city of Minneapolis right now. Where to even begin? The latest is all the aftermath of the Renee Good shooting last Wednesday by an ICE agent here in the city. The latest this morning, Department of Homeland Security sources tell us up to 1,000 additional Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection agents are on their way here to Minneapolis or may already be here. That's on top of the already 2,000 agents on the ground. So it is clear that the Department of Homeland Security is placing its sharp focus on the Twin Cities right now in terms of immigration enforcements. Also, I'm told by Border Patrol here that the more immigration officers that arrive here to do the immigration enforcements, that frees up the HSI investigators to look into all of the fraud, which is the backdrop to everything going on here right now. And by the way, if you have any questions for me, you could drop them below or drop them in the comment section and I will try to answer them for you. So the Democratic mayor here, Jacob Frey, he has said that any new agents or agents in general are going to be met with resistance in this city. I could tell you personally, I went on a ride-along with Border Patrol on Friday. It was pretty intense at times, like moment after moment of agents being met with anti-ICE activists. You know, anytime an agent would get out of a car to question someone or perhaps take someone into custody, they were almost immediately met with anti-ICE activists, people blowing those ear-piercing whistles, beeping their horn, agitating, making noise. The point is, these anti-ICE activists in the city, they want to establish where the agents are. So you know how a whistle or a horn kind of echoes through a city and you can kind of maybe, if it's within earshot, place where that's coming from? That's what these anti-ICE activists are trying to do. They want to immediately establish where they're seeing a federal officer, question someone or take someone into custody so that they can swarm them and surround them. And so one thing about the Renee Good shooting video is on the surface, it may look like, Renee Good was just beeping her horn and antagonizing or perhaps taunting officers. But when you're actually in the car with officers, you realize how quickly they get surrounded by all these activists real quick. So it's a matter of seconds sometimes. So when they see a car blocking them, that is putting them in great jeopardy. They cannot leave the situation. And so that is perhaps why they took the incident with Renee Good so seriously. We actually saw, even after the Renee Good incident last week, on Friday, I saw a person drive their car directly in front of immigration agents and block them in. It was brief, but the agents were blocked in. They could not get out of the location where they were. So they ordered this person to move the car. That person complied in this scenario. But you could see the intensity, these intense moments where federal agents are all of a sudden blocked in. And that is not a good scenario. So we saw someone blocking an agent in. We also, had SUVs trailing us as we were embedded with DHS. We had SUVs trailing us around the city, one of them for several miles. And eventually, Border Patrol agents got out of their cars and, told these people to stop trailing them, stop potentially impeding them. And it happened to be two white women in the cars, which, is a similar demographic or the identical demographic to Renee Good. So there really is a lot of intense emotion going on here across the city, and the environment is very ripe. I have to say, there is a very strong and well-organized anti-ICE, anti-immigration network within this city. As soon as agents are spotted, they are met with people who are either whistling those are blowing those whistles, beeping their horn, taunting officers. It's intense. There are networks here who do not want immigration officials here. And the mayor, the leader of this city, has praised those efforts. He has said on camera that there's tens of thousands of people who do not want immigration agents on the ground, including himself. Now, over the weekend, Representative Ilhan Omar, she and other congresswomen showed up to the ICE headquarters, which is outside of the city where I'm standing. Maybe about 20 minutes, ICE is temporarily based somewhere near the airport. That's where a lot of the protesters are that you're seeing. So Representative Omar showed up. She said that she wasn't given a proper tour of the facility. DHS responded and said the new policy is that you've got to give us 7 days notice, so that adds to the tension here. We have a question saying, how have people felt about barriers being outside the federal buildings after clashes? Those barriers, the concrete barriers, are going up or have gone up. I have not personally been out there yet. I'm downtown right now, but we do have crews who are out there. We have photographers out there, so I'll keep you updated on the response to the barriers. And that's pretty typical. I covered the George Floyd protests from start to finish here in Minneapolis, also the Derek Chauvin murder trial from start to finish here in Minneapolis. So I've spent months covering protests in this city, riots in this city, and those barriers going up, that happened a lot. Minneapolis ended up putting them outside of certain police precincts. So that is kind of common practice. So I would imagine the protesters are kind of used to it. They kind of see it coming. But I will let you know what the reaction is to those barriers going up. Have immigration arrests paused in Minneapolis? Absolutely not. Not only have they not paused, DHS has told me on camera, we don't care that the mayor told us to get the F out. We don't care about all of the aggression, all of the protests and riots we're seeing. Our mission is going to continue. And really, the Trump administration and the Department of Homeland Security doubled down on their efforts because they're sending more agents here, hundreds, if not up to 1,000 more. So no, the arrests have not paused at all. The latest number was at least 1,000 people arrested. And I believe that number has certainly gone up. We'll confirm that final number for you. I also covered the riots in Los Angeles. I spent 2 years at the border. We have never seen the Department of Homeland Security under the Trump administration draw back at all. In Los Angeles, pretty much they continued, despite the riots, they doubled down on the immigration enforcements there. In Chicago, there were riots and demonstrations for weeks and weeks, and our Chicago team and many other reporters covered that day after day. And, really, you never necessarily saw the immigration raids or the enforcements scale back at all. And there's all different types of tactics that DHS uses. For example, there's those highly optic raids. I was embedded with DHS for one, where the Penske trucks showed up to the Home Depot in Los Angeles. That's a very highly optic one. That's going to get a lot of attention. But there's all types of daily enforcements going on around the city, probably right now. That's one of them I was embedded on Friday. So even if you're not seeing those big flashy raids, there's all types of what DHS refers to as casual encounters. There's all types of enforcements where you may never even see them, but the federal government is extricating and arresting known criminals, wanted criminals. So even if it seems like things may be quieting down, behind the scenes, there's still a lot going on. Sometimes it gets attention, sometimes it doesn't. But no, not pausing here at all. Another question is, how might the trust relationship between state agents and the feds be affected by this? It seems like there's always this dynamic between state and federal agents, and there's also sometimes dynamics between different federal agencies as well. So I've heard some of the analysts on our air saying this is perhaps one of the most notable clashes in recent history between state and federal government. You have the mayor, the Democratic mayor here, Jacob Frey, an outspoken mayor, telling ICE to get the F out of his city, doubling down on that, insisting that that's where he stands. He's not taking those words back. And he is saying that immigration agents are going to be met with resistance here. Obviously, you have Governor Tim Walz, who does not support immigration enforcements in his city, although both the mayor and the governor had advised protesters to be peaceful. I covered the George Floyd riots start to finish. On a scale from 0 to George Floyd, the demonstrations here haven't reached the George Floyd era. Thankfully, we're not seeing buildings and neighborhoods burned to the ground yet. But the relationship is certainly very, very fractured. Absolutely not on the same page. And in fact, when it comes down to it, the death investigation into Renee Good, that is also a very fractured investigation, because you have the lead, the FBI, you have the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, the Trump administration saying this is our investigation and involved a federal agent. The state does not have the authority or the agency over this investigation. Then you have the state pushing back. And in fact, our cameras this morning captured BCA, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension agents, at least that's what was on their jackets, going door to door near the shooting death of Renee Good. So we have reached out to the state for clarification on what that means, but it appears that there are still state investigators active out there. So are they assisting the feds, or are they doing their own investigation? That's something I hope to get answered for you very soon, perhaps by the time we're live with Harris Faulkner. Could the Trump administration do more to address the violence against law enforcement? You know, what we see on the ground a lot of times is local police and state police kind of taking the brunt of it, at least during the protests sometimes, you know, because it's within the city of Minneapolis. So, you know, my 2 cents would be a lot of times it's going to be up to some of the local agencies to be as proactive on that as possible. Now, I did do a ride along with Border Patrol, and the agent I was with said he was harassed, or he was assaulted, and he said that one of the assistant U.S. attorneys here is investigating that ongoing case of his assault. So this also goes back to what are federal investigators, what's the U.S. Attorney's Office doing here in Minneapolis? What is their stance on prosecuting or investigating assaults on their own federal agents? You know, how does that compare to what the U.S. Attorney maybe was doing in Los Angeles? There were a lot of cases brought against people who assaulted agents during the L.A. riots. You look at Chicago, what was the U.S. Attorney doing there? A lot of times it ends up relying on what the U.S. Attorney is doing in the individual districts. Could the Trump administration do more? Well, you know, the Trump administration seems like it is always trying to protect its agents. So I'm correspondent Matt Finn. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be live throughout the day. We have teams on the ground here in Minneapolis, and we'll probably have many more. Thank you very much.